started. I guess you are able to see my screen and able to hear me. All right. Sure. Thank you so much for confirming. So let's get started with the session. Today we have a huge audience, over 55 candidates I can see right now. Okay, so before we get started, so let me tell you, today there are mixed audience. There are some people who have already completed their core Java sessions and now they are getting started with Selenium. And there are many new students who are starting from the day one, and some of them are joining as a demo session as well. So today's and tomorrow's session will be like an introductory session to Selenium. So today is mostly like an introduction. Tomorrow we're gonna do the configuration part on Selenium, and from next weekend onwards, this batch is going to split into core Java and WebDriver. So people who have already completed their core Java, or the people who already have good understanding on core Java, can skip the Java part and continue with the WebDriver sessions. And people who are new can continue with their core Java sessions, because in order to work on Selenium, your programming base should be built up. So that we're gonna do with core Java first, right? So as we are doing Selenium with Java in this course, so we'll be doing the Java part itself. Okay, so just give me a moment.
Yeah, Rahul, one
Hi,
question.
yes, yep.
So, what about the timing? The like we have joined like
So
core Java at the 8. So our Selenium class will be at the same time, or it will be
yes,
from different.
the classes are going to run at the same time. It's not like you'll be attending Java and Selenium in parallel, because it doesn't make any sense. Because if we are doing the very first session of Java, so and then the same at the other time we are doing the very first session of Selenium, and in case you are attending both the sessions, then we cannot relate the first session of Java and first session of Selenium. So that is the reason, like people who are very new to the programming world, first they'll be attending the Java part and then they'll be attending the Selenium. So batch timings will be 8 to 10 itself. And for Selenium, there are some students like who are in US who specifically suggested for a little late time. So we're gonna start Selenium at 8:30 p.m. IST, which is half an hour after the Java session.
Okay.
All right. So any more questions before we get started? Any questions from anyone?
So this is Jashwant, Rahul. So Java and Selenium classes will be in the same class, in the class only, or
It will be different batches. For Java, there is a different instructor who is going to take only the Java part, and I myself will be taking the complete Selenium part. So, complete Selenium, all the major utilities, Jenkins, Dockers, and even we are also covering AWS integration as well in this series. So, I'll be covering all this part, plus all the framework designing and the live projects I myself will be doing. Just that you will be getting an additional core Java training, which a dedicated core Java instructor will be taking.
so what are the timings for that Java batch
Same timings, it is going to start from next weekend.
next weekend? Okay.
Yeah. So these two sessions are also important for a beginner to understand what exactly is Selenium and how we're gonna work on Selenium, right? So what are the basic prerequisites that is required? So these are the things, and even the history of Selenium we are going to cover in these two sessions.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I already had taken core Java sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm an old student. So, to go everything in a quick way, is there any recorded session for Selenium core that is going on the website?
Yes, I recently launched a new course on Selenium 4 as well. If you have access to the complete video library, you can see this is the latest Selenium 4 that I've recently added. So you can follow these lectures, and step by step you can go through the complete topics of Selenium 4.
Okay, sir. Sir, I got confused sometimes. So, can you please ping me that you are right?
Okay. You just need to go to this Selenium. Let me show it to you. You just need to go to selenium-tutorial.com, or if you do it from the website, go to waytoautomation.com, and here you need to click on member login. So once you enter your login details, you should be able to reach this page. Go to all courses, and then you should be able to see it in very beginning itself.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Ralph, these days.
Yeah. Hey, Raj.
Hi. So since you said that like you're going to cover the Selenium class and then somebody going to like a Java, Java core, right? Once we finish the Java course, so is still the same instructor going to continue the Selenium?
No. Then I'll be taking over the Selenium classes. So once your Java is done, I'll be taking over the batch.
That's good. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Any more questions, guys? So
What's the duration of the Java course?
the Java training is gonna take somewhere around 6 weekends. So somewhere around 12 to 13 sessions will be there.
Okay.
Yep.
So we are going to cover till the collections part.
Yes. So whatever that is required for Selenium and even the framework designing, we are going to cover all those major topics, starting from the beginning.
One more thing. So then the timing will be changed, right? Because of the you're going to since the Selenium class for the 8 o'clock, and then once we finish the core Java, and there will be another session for the Selenium, right?
So once you are done with all the sessions of Java, at the same time, you will be moved to the Selenium batch.
Timing will be the same.
Timings will remain the same.
Okay, thanks.
One question, which ID we will use? Either we will use Eclipse or
We'll be working on Eclipse because 70% of the market is using Eclipse. But in case you want to use IntelliJ, that is the another major ID that's being used, you can use IntelliJ as well. Wilfred, next week will be both Java and Selenium both. People who have completed Java will be starting with Selenium. And people who are new, they'll be starting with Java.
So, sir, timing for Selenium will be the same at 8
Same.
p.m. only, right?
Timings for Selenium will be 8:30 and Java will be 8. This is for this batch only because some people have requested to shift the timing for Selenium for half an hour. So we're gonna start Selenium at 8:30 and Java will start at 8 India time.
Okay.
All right. So let me go through the complete course content as well. So this is what the latest content for Selenium 4 as Selenium 4 has officially launched in the market on 13th October. So we are going to cover all major topics of Selenium 4 itself, including whatever there was in Selenium 3. So whatever there was in Selenium 3 works absolutely fine with Selenium 4, but Selenium 4 itself came up with a lot of new features, the Chrome Dev Tool protocol support and n number of other things which we are going to see in this course. So we'll be once we get started with Selenium, we'll be discussing about the architecture of all the versions of Selenium and what is the difference and what is the benefit in Selenium 4 that we are going to get. And then these are the core Java content. So core Java, all the basic contents we are going to cover, including the OOPS concepts, exception handling, file handling, Excel reading, collections API, right? And then in on the Selenium side, if we talk about the new features like relative locators are there, Chrome Dev Tool protocols are there, window handling, a new tab, a new pop-up, right? N number of other features which some of you might not be aware of right now. But once we get started with the course, we'll be going through all these features practically. Then it will be more clear to you. So these are a couple of the topics that we have designed for the Selenium, so that once you are through with all these topics, you should be capable enough to automate any website in the world on your own easily, right? So these are some of the things that I've listed down over here. I'll be sharing this PDF file to everyone after the session, so that you can go through the content and XPath, CSS, major locators, how to handle dynamic element, how to create dynamic locators on your own, TestNG framework majorly will be covering, and then other integrations that you may have heard about, extent reports, database connectivity, Log4j, mailing, automated email sending, then Selenium Grid for remote test execution, Docker, Jenkins, Maven, AWS, and then we'll be working on two live projects. One using data and keyword driven approach, which is like a hybrid framework, and then we'll be covering page object and page factories. So these are the two major frameworks that we'll be working on in market. Majorly page object model is used. 90% of the companies in automation Selenium, they are using page objects itself. So we'll be designing the entire framework from scratch. It's not like that I'll be picking up some pre-built framework and going to explain it to you. I'll be designing the complete framework end to end from scratch. So we're going to learn the end-to-end framework designing as well. So this is some like the course content that I've listed down that I'll be sharing it to you. And the link that you have joined today is going to work for today's and tomorrow's session only. From the next weekend onwards, we will be creating a separate link for Core Java and a separate link for Selenium. And the WhatsApp groups are already formed. So like people who are already enrolled must have got access to those WhatsApp group. If not, then you can just drop me an email on this mail ID, trainer@way2automation.com. Then I'll send you the email again for the WhatsApp groups. Right? Any more questions?
Yes, Rahul. So,
Yeah.
how many days will it take to cover these Selenium?
So Selenium will at least gonna take 14 sessions. So at least 7 weekend it is going to take to cover the Selenium topics. Right. So somewhere around, if we talk about the complete duration of this course, is somewhere around 3.5 months.
So whatever we are recording here, the same how we did in the core Java, will be
Yeah.
same getting uploaded on the.
Yes. So all the recordings will be hosted on this portal. And first, like Selenium, this is where you will be looking at the recordings. So you need to click on this, and after your Java sessions, these recordings will be available. So
Yeah, we can find here.
yeah. So at the end over here, where your current batch is, the people who have finished the Java, you'll see the Selenium recording starting from here. And same for the people who are starting new. We'll be forming up a new section over here that will name it as batch Jan 2022. So all the recordings of the current batch, you'll be able to find it at the end over here.
Rahul, for the core Java session, do you provide the hands-on session as well?
Yeah, I mean, see, everything is practical. Even in Java, even in Selenium. Selenium itself, I mean, there is no theoretical concept, right? Everything is practical. The theory is only the history of Selenium. Same way, if you talk about Java, the concepts like all the OOPS concepts, basic if, else, loops, arrays, all these things will be doing practically in the live session itself.
And if we have a doubt, so in that case, we will clear out in the doubt session.
Yeah, you can even like the way that you are talking right now with me. So the same way, like with a Java instructor, you can clear your doubt there and then as well. Or otherwise, there is a WhatsApp group. After the session, if you want to discuss anything, you can even post it in the WhatsApp group as well. And people are really helpful in the group. They're also going to help you a lot.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So the other thing, I mean, for the new people, you must be aware of the lifetime membership. I mean, once you are enrolled into this Selenium course, you're gonna get complete lifetime access to all these 30 plus courses that you see over here. Not just this, there are many courses we are conducting live trainings on, like API testing, like DevOps, like performance testing, JMeter. We are also starting Selenium with Python. So you can attend all those courses as well, not just Selenium. And this is like a lifetime commitment. So even after 1 year, you want to join any course, or if we launch any new course and conduct a live training on it, that will also be free for you. So this is something like a unique concept that we came up with few months back, and we are getting a very good response on it. So we have continued the same lifetime membership. So you all will gonna get benefit from the same. So another question, will you show us an
One more quick
integration
question.
example with Selenium? So integration example with Selenium, like in today's session, yes, we're gonna cover Selenium integration as well.
Rahul, one quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, like you're saying, the Java course will be the six session or 6 week, right?
6
And
weekends,
then the 6 weekend, and then the Selenium going to be like
7 weekends.
17.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Also, is like a 7 or 17 for the Selenium?
No,
So I
7 weekends. 7
so
weekends,
then
somewhere
it's
around 14 sessions.
okay. Then we are expecting to complete that, and then we're going to start Selenium from the beginning, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay.
Rahul, what about the hands-on practices? Means once the session is over, we provide the exercises.
I'll be giving you lots of assignments to automate the live elements over the web. We'll be covering, so we'll be covering the live websites itself, so that you can practice the same at your home as well. So there'll be so many assignments I'll be giving to you. So don't worry about it. Okay. Anything more?
Yeah, I have one question related to this lifetime membership. Like within this lifetime membership, like do we have access to like all the old recordings that are available for
Everything.
trainings?
Everything that you
That's
see on
great.
this portal. Yeah. So you can access the previous batches as well.
Okay, fine, got it. And anything new comes up, so we get a notification that we can go ahead and enroll it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Rahul, one thing from my
So-
end, like
Hmm?
one thing from my end, like if we are practicing, like we try to automate our own website, so if we get any confusion in that part also, that what is the challenge, so how can we like clear doubt with you?
See, you can even like send the code, the project code, if possible. You can upload that code onto the Google Drive and you can share it with me. Or if it is a simple query, you can even post it in the WhatsApp group or directly mail it to me.
Fine, sure.
All right.
Thank you.
So one question, Rahul.
Mhm.
So I'm confused with the Java and Selenium patches. So my understanding is, if I'm a new person, so I'll be taking all the Java classes for the
Yes.
first time.
First, you'll be attending the Java
After-
part, and then
Yeah,
you'll
so
be
after
attending
6
Selenium.
weeks, after that, again, if a new batch starts, then I'll join the Selenium. Right?
No, I mean, it's not like you have to wait for the Selenium batch to start. So that will be continuous. I mean, as soon as your Java ends, you'll be moving to Selenium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rahul, are there any classes for Serenity BDD framework?
Serenity BDD live classes are not there because the student demand is less, but I have a detailed course on Serenity BDD that you can go through.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Okay, let's start, guys. If you have any more questions, then just let me know. Otherwise, we can quickly start with the topics. Okay, I guess everyone is good now. Okay, so let's get started. So the very first thing that comes in Selenium is, what exactly is Selenium? Anything and everything that you know about Selenium, just let me know.
It is an open source.
It's an open source what?
Framework for using for automating web applications.
Open source framework for automating web based applications, right? Anything else?
major community support because it's widely used.
Hmm. So yeah, the community is very strong with Selenium because almost, I mean, like almost companies who are working in automation, they are familiar with Selenium, right? So it's used across globe. Okay. How about others?
Selenium is API.
Support.
Selenium is an API, we can say.
It's an API. So it's a framework. It's an API.
Is it
Flexibility to
support?
work with any application, any programming language.
Okay. So it has got a multi-programming support. So multi-program.
Multiple browsers.
And it's written JavaScript.
JavaScript. So see, majorly language that are supported is Java, JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, Ruby, PHP. Right? So all these major languages in the world are supported by Selenium. So initially it was started in JavaScript, right, when the very first version came into the market, but later on major language support was provided to Selenium, right, so that everyone who is coming from any programming background can work on Selenium. It's not only limited to the JavaScript developers. What else?
It supports multiple browsers.
It supports multiple browser. So multiple browser support is there. So it works on all major browsers like Chrome, like IE, like Safari, like Opera, like Firefox, like Edge. All major browsers are supported. Anything else?
Multiple platforms.
Multiple platform as in multiple OS support is there. So you can run your test on Windows, on Linux, on Mac, on Solaris, on iOS, on Android. All major operating systems are supported by Selenium. What else? So very first thing that we talked about, I mean, Selenium, like there was a time when like 90% of the people say that Selenium is an automation tool, right? There are people who are coming new into automation. They still consider Selenium as a tool. Selenium is not a tool, right? There is no GUI in Selenium. Like there are other competitors of Selenium. You may have heard about QTP, UFT, RFT. They are automation tools, right? You get a setup file which you like double click on it, install on your machine. It provide you a platform where you can do record and play, you can do scripting, you can use a number of features of that tool, right? It provides you a GUI interface. It's nothing like that with Selenium. Selenium is not a tool. It is a framework. It is collection of libraries, right? It is a project which is developed in a particular language, or it is an API, but it's not a tool. It does not have any GUI. There is no GUI. You cannot install Selenium, right? It is just collection of, you can say, jar files, because Selenium is very popular in Java. So you must be knowing that whenever we are working on Selenium, then we are using something called as jar files. But jar files are when you are working with Java. If you work with C Sharp, then you need to get something called as DLL files. If you work with Ruby, then Selenium is available in a form of a gem file. If you work with Python, it is available in a form of a pip, right? Same way for JavaScript, for PHP, for different language, different bindings are available, right? But Selenium is not a tool. Selenium is something like a project which is developed in a particular language. That project is already developed, and now you are accessing those libraries to automate your website. Right? So you're not developing anything. The project is already developed. You're just picking up those libraries, integrating that libraries in your project, and then you're calling some of the functionality from those libraries and automating your website. That is what Selenium is. So we're going to take a look at a practical example. People who are very new should be able to understand what exactly is a library that I am talking about, and what all functionalities are there, and how we'll be accessing those functionality. So in some time it will be very much clear to you. But which company came up with Selenium?
ThoughtWorks.
ThoughtWorks. Correct. Anyone know the developer name?
Jason
Jason Huggins. So this project was started in the year 2004, long time back, somewhere around 18 years back, right? Selenium exists in the market, 18 years back. And till, when Selenium was initially started, it was just like an idea. Jason Huggins, like he thought of automating his daily routine task, and he has created a small JavaScript library. But that project went up to such an extent they thought of giving it some name. So it was only his internal project at that point of time when he started. So then they came up with a name called as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? There is a history behind this name as well. Anyone knows why they have given this project name as Selenium?
Actually, I had something called Mercury, which is opposite to Selenium. That's why.
Yeah. So that's correct. In 2004, around that time, Selenium was not that popular, right? The popular automation tool was QTP, or prior to that, it was WinRunner. Right, I'm not sure if you have heard a name WinRunner, because that was a quite old tool, and then QTP came into the market, and then now it's been renamed to UFT when HP acquired it. But initially it was a product of Mercury. So QTP, if we talk about QTP, then it can automate web applications as well as it can automate desktop applications. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, it is only automating web applications. Selenium cannot automate desktop apps. Right? So QTP was very popular at that time, and QTP was owned by a company called as Mercury. So if we talk about Mercury in general terms, Mercury is something that you may have seen in thermometers. It's a poisonous element. So there was a saying, if someone breaks the thermometer and if someone intakes that mercury, then he may gonna die. Right? So to make that person survive, we give him an antidote that is called as Selenium. So Selenium is basically an antidote to mercury, so that person may survive. Right? So that is the reason they have given this project name as Selenium, so to end the market of QTP Mercury. And up to very extent, they are successful as well. Not just that, Selenium, we know that it's completely open source. Open source means there is no license required to work on Selenium. It's completely free of cost. Anyone can download it and anyone can start working on it, and anyone can automate any website using Selenium. But it's not like that with QTP. For QTP, you have to pay a heavy cost to Mercury or to HP to get the license of QTP. Right? And single user license costs somewhere around 2000 USD at that point of time. And if a company is going for like 50 users license, it may gonna cost a huge amount. Whereas the same functionality Selenium is providing absolutely free of cost. Just that Selenium cannot automate desktop application. It can only automate web application. But these days, if you talk about the current industry, where it's a time of cloud computing, so everything is on web, there hardly you may gonna see desktop applications. Right? Even if you are doing manual testing, majorly you are automating websites. Majorly you are manually testing websites or manually testing web applications itself. Right? There are hardly desktop applications. So that is the reason why Selenium is very popular, because Selenium can automate 90% of the web applications. There are still some things that Selenium also cannot handle, but for that there are other integrations that we can do with Selenium, and we can automate those stuff as well. Right? Generally, we say that in testing, 100% cannot be automated. Right? But there are things which we can use, we can integrate, and we can automate those stuffs as well. But before that, what all types of applications are there? We just talked about web-based applications, right? We talked about desktop applications. Anything apart from this? Anything apart from web? Anything apart from desktop that you may have worked on? Mobile applications. Apart from this,
Hybrid application.
hybrid applications, what are those?
Native plus.
Is
Native plus web, those are again mobile applications only.
Okay.
Cloud apps.
Cloud apps, again web based.
Salesforce applications.
Salesforce is a web based application. Database. Apart from this,
API.
APIs. Correct. Right? So APIs are something you must have heard about: web services, REST, SOAP. So other ERP SAP applications that you're talking about are built up on these applications only, right? They're majorly web-based applications itself. Right? So we have these major category of applications available. Apart from this, do you think any other area where you may have performed testing on? So if you talk about mainframes as well, that is again somewhere related to database. These are the major area where we generally perform manual testing. And
What are API apps? Sorry.
APIs are
API apps. API apps. What
A-
kind of
API apps. There's nothing called as API apps. APIs are your middle tier,
Yeah, middle.
right? Your middle layer. So that is your web services, REST or SOAP. These days, 95% of the companies are using REST, right? But if you talk about Selenium, then Selenium comes only here. Abhishek, GitHub is again a web-based application, right? So Selenium comes, like Selenium can automate only web application. Whereas if we talk about QTP, it automates QTP or UFT, it automates desktop as well as web. For mobile application, have you heard about any automation tool?
APM.
APM, Cypress, APM. I guess Cypress is only for UI automation at the moment. Right. Espresso is there, Perfecto is there, correct. But the open source, if we talk about, that is APM, which is majorly used in the industry, that is APM. How about database? Database, we have various vendors available. SQL is there, MySQL is there, NoSQL is there, Hadoop is there, MongoDB is there, and number of tools are there, right, where you can write your queries and you can test it. Yes, Vikram, Selendroid was there before, but now it is out of the market after APM came into the picture. How about web services, APIs?
Rest assured, Postman.
Rest assured, Postman.
Correct. Rest assured, Postman. There was something called as SOAP UI as well, right? Okay, Swagger is there. Correct. So a lot of tools available for API testing as well, right? But again, the question comes: Selenium is only for web based. So why Selenium is very popular? I mean, every opening these days, even if we talk about manual testing opening, Selenium is something like a prerequisite that you should have knowledge of Selenium. Why not QTP? Why not APM? Why not rest assured? Why Selenium is like a prerequisite? So Selenium,
Web-based Tosca is also there.
yeah, web-based Tosca is there, and number of open source tools are also there, right? So again, but very popular is Selenium, right? So why Selenium is like a prerequisite? So there are so many things that you can integrate with Selenium, which you cannot do it with other automation tools. Something like if I talk about Java programming, anything that you can do in Java, you can integrate that thing with Selenium. Anything that you can do in Python, you can integrate that thing with Selenium. Why? Because Selenium is not a tool. There are no boundaries to Selenium. If we talk about QTP, UFT, RFT, any other automation tool, you get a complete framework which is already developed. Something framework like a boundary. You got a boundary, you got a tool Now you install that tool. There are so many features, maybe let's say 100 features that developers have created in that tool. You are restricted to use those features only, and you can automate any project using those features itself. In case when we are writing our test cases, manual test cases as well, because generally we automate manual test cases only, right? We do a lot of permutation and combination. Now it doesn't mean for every permutation and combination you're gonna find a feature in QTP, you're gonna find a feature in RFT. So at times these companies, they sell their add-ons as well to support that feature, right? Then again you need to go to those companies and you need to purchase those add-ons. But again, add-ons, if a add-on is not there, then again you are restricted. You cannot automate that particular functionality if a add-on is not there, because the add-on is also designed by a developer. If a developer has not designed that particular add-on, then you are again restricted. You cannot automate that functionality. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, there is no boundary, right? There is no GUI. You're not going to see a list of 100 features and you need to pick those features from there. It's just a framework. It's just a collection of library. It's just a basic code that you need to integrate in your project. And in that project, not just Selenium, you can integrate n number of APIs as well, n number of projects as well. And you can automate the functionality, whatever functionality that you want to automate, you can achieve it with the help of those features that you integrate with Selenium. So this might look little complex at this time if you have never worked on Selenium, but once we start understanding what Selenium is and how we're going to configure Selenium, then it will be very much clear to you, right? So as we say that Selenium is not a tool, we cannot install Selenium. It's a framework, it's a collection of library, it's a project, it's an API. So what are these things? What exactly is an API? What is an API? What is an API? Before we get started with Selenium, we need to understand what is an API. So what does this term means? Interface? How about others? What is an API?
Application interface.
Application interface or application programming interface.
It is a, yeah.
Yeah, that's a full form. What is there inside application programming interface? It's a middle layer.
It is a middle layer which communicates between the client and the server.
Client and the server. Okay, correct. So what that middle layer consists of?
It's a collection of classes or
It's a collection of multiple technologies.
Okay.
Framework. It's a framework.
Communication between the software.
Endpoints that connects.
It restricts the user to enter information in a particular way. Like suppose I'm logging into a site through Google, then I should give my credentials of Google, so that Google passwords and credentials are interfaced to that particular site, right?
That's true. I mean, but I still want that you should not consider API to only be web services, right? Like REST and so. So API itself is a complete project, and it consists of several programs, several functions, several classes, several interfaces, right? So if I talk about practically, let's take a practical example. So let's say I am working as JSON again itself, right? Guys, please put yourself on mute if you are not talking because there is a background noise coming. Guys, please put yourself on mute. Okay. So let's say I'm working as JSON against and I need to design Selenium. So what I'll be doing, let's say I'm a Java developer and I want to design Selenium in Java. So how are we gonna develop Selenium? So I'll be creating something called as a class. I'm gonna name this class as Selenium. I hope everyone understand what a class is, right? What class consists of?
It consists everything in
Everything in Java. Okay, that's great. Okay, so there are some people who are very new, who are attending the session for the very first time. In case you're not familiar with what a class is, what a function is, what a method, what an interface is, don't worry about it at all, because once we move to the Java session, then it will be very much clear to you. I know there are some people who are from the electronic background and not from the computer science background as well, who have joined today and may not know anything about a class or anything about the programming language. Just take this concept as it is, because first two sessions are something like a very lightweight sessions which will help you in understanding what exactly Selenium is and how you're going to work with Selenium, because Selenium is not a tool. So everything that you need to do will be through some programming approach only. And programming, it's not like a very complex programming. We are not doing any advanced level of programming, even if we are talking about Java. So we'll be doing only basic core Java, right? So whatever that you may have studied around your graduation as well, like basic C++, so those are the concepts that we'll be picking up, like basic if, else, loops, arrays, collections, right? And I know you may have studied that long time back. You might not recognize all those stuff. So don't worry about it. Once you go through the Java sessions, you should be able to brush up all those topics easily. Because in order to work on Selenium, you must be familiar with any basic programming language. Only the basics. Why we need the basics? Because we are not developing Selenium, but we need to consume those classes, those methods. So we must be familiar with what is a class, what is a method, how to call a method from a class. These are basic concepts that we must be familiar with, right? And once we start designing the framework, that is where we need to use a little good level of Java, but that too, again, core Java. But in order to work on Selenium, it's very basic stuff. Even if you know a little basic, you should be able to work on Selenium and should be able to automate any website easily, right? Selenium is very easy. The only complex part is once you move to the framework designing part. But till the time you move to the framework designing part, your base should be developed, right? Okay, Gurjeet, when are we going to start our Java topic? From next weekend itself, right? So these two sessions, just take them as a very lightweight sessions. Even if you are not able to understand it, don't worry about it. Whatever configuration that I am teaching right now, you just need to do the same configuration on your machine. Try to write a little bit code with your own hand to get yourself comfortable with the initial configuration part. That's it. But I don't want you to do the same thing right now. You'll be getting the recordings. So after the session, whenever you get time, just go through the recording once again and try to configure these things on your machine. Yeah, you're gonna get the notes as well. Everything. Don't worry about it. All right. So yeah, as the Jason Huggins, I am going to design Selenium. So I've created a class as Selenium. Now this class can contains n number of functions. Now why I'm designing Selenium? Because I need to automate a website. So automating a website, let's say I go to any application. If I go to, let's say, gmail.com. So what I need to do, I need to automate, let's say this Gmail, this home page of Gmail, right? Yes, Harmeet, duration of Java is 6 weekends. So I need to automate this, but before that I'll be doing manual testing, right? So how to do manual testing of this login window? What all things you'll be validating? You'll be validating whether this image exists on the page, whether all these things that you see on the page are as per the specification, whether user is able to enter the username. You'll be inputting n number of test data over here, valid username, invalid username. Then you're gonna validate clicking on each links, clicking on the button, right? So what all events that you'll be firing? You'll be checking the click event, clicking on link, clicking on the button. You'll be doing some typing over here. So there is like a type event. You'll be getting the text of this element as in all these things that you see on this UI. Even a single dot is called a element. An element on the web is called as a web element. So all these things, anything that you see on this UI is basically a web element. So we need to perform different actions on this on these web elements. It could be like while doing manual testing, we perform all these actions manually. While automating, our automation script is going to do everything. Right? Automation script is going to click, is going to type, is going to get that text, is going to check the element presence. Right? So these are the things as a developer, as Jason Huggins, I need to develop in my project so that once the Selenium project is completed, end user can use those functionality and automate their website. So what I thought is I should create a class first. Class contains a lot of things. There are data members, data types, variables, methods, right? So constructor, a lot of things are there inside class. So what I'll do, I'll first gonna create some functionality that is going to launch a browser. So what I did, I have created a method, a function. In Java, we call functions as method. I've created a function called as open. Now in this function, I'll call them as methods, right? I'm not going to call this as function. In JavaScript, Python, you call them as functions. Same thing in Java is called as method, right? So when I'm saying method, just think it as function only if you know it as function. So I've created a method open. In this, I'm going to write some code. If you call this method open, it is going to launch a browser, right? Similarly, after launching a browser, I want to navigate to a particular URL. So I'm gonna say navigate. After navigating, I want to type a value in the username field. So I'm going to create a method called as type. After typing, I want to click on a particular button. So I'm creating a method called as click, and so on. So what all actions that we need to perform on a website, I've written all the methods over here, and I have written the code for all the methods. So whenever you want to open a browser, you just be calling open method. Whenever you want to navigate, you'll be calling this navigate method. Whenever you want to type or click, you'll be calling these methods. Right? Let's say I've completed I have completed this project. I've designed Selenium. Now I want to test this project. And in order to test this project, I want to call this open method from this Selenium class. So how to call this method from a class?
In Java, we create object to call a method.
So how to create object of this class? What is the statement that I should write? Selenium. S equal to
object
new
Selenium
like this. Correct. This is how we create an object of a class, right? And if I want to call the open method, how to call it? S dot open. Correct. Right? Then I want to navigate to a website, I'll say S dot navigate. Then I want to type, I'll say S dot type. Then I want to click, I'll say S dot click. That's it. That is how we'll be working on Selenium. So as a Jason Huggins, Jason Huggins is going to give us this project. We need not to develop type, we need not to develop navigate, we need not to develop click. These things are already developed in the Selenium project. We'll be getting this project as it is, and we'll be simply creating the object of these class and calling method one by one and automating the entire website. That is how we'll be working on. No GUI, no interface. No like a graphical user interface you're gonna see where you'll be dragging and dropping these features and using them. You'll be writing just this piece of code, and you're gonna see a browser is gonna launch, is going to navigate to a website, and then you're gonna perform type, click, all the other operation, and you'll be automating the website entirely. That is how we'll be working on Selenium. So to show this thing practically, see right now, I've written everything in Notepad. Previous time people used to write Java code as well in Notepad. But time have changed. Many editors are available in the market with artificial intelligence. If we are not good in coding, these editors helps us a lot. Maybe the Selenium class, it contains 1000 methods. I cannot learn all those methods, right? So what I'll do, if I do s dot, it will show me list of all the methods that are there inside the Selenium class. And I can simply pick the method from there and execute it. So For that, we should be using some form of IDs like integrated development environment, right? So there are many IDs available where you can write Java code, Python code, C sharp code. Some are open source, some are paid. Most popular that we are going to use is Eclipse IDE, right? There are some organization who use IntelliJ as well. So people who are already familiar with IntelliJ can use the same stuff in IntelliJ as well, right? We need just an editor that supports your basic programming language. Now, as I said, programming language, the prerequisite to get this IDE as well is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. And the most recommended version of Java is JDK 1.8. There are some people who are using Java 11 as well. There are people using Java 13 as well. And there are people using Java 17 as well. Latest version, I would not recommend to use. This is because when you may gonna use some integrations like Jenkins, Maven, and other integration, I have seen many students have faced issues while using the latest version of Java, that is 17, and I have recommended to downgrade it to 1.8 and everything works fine. Since beginning, I am using 1.8 because what all features that we need in Selenium, all features you're gonna get easily in 1.8. Right, so we are not developing anything.
IntelliJ is same as Eclipse, means we can
Absolutely, absolutely. Right.
Rahul, I have 1.8.0.26.
That's fine. That's fine. Any version of 1.8 will gonna work. So let me show you how you're gonna get this version and what all configuration you need to do. So let's simply go to Google and cover the prerequisite. The prerequisite is to get JDK 1.8, right? You first need to check on your machine. Go to control panel. Go to control panel and see what version of Java you have. So you're gonna see it over here. So at time we accidentally install the latest version, right? Our Windows itself at times it is giving us updates like we have Java 8, 17 available. You want to install it, and we simply click on it and it gets installed, right? If you see any other version of Java, just click on this and uninstall it. It won't hamper any running program. Don't worry about it. So once it is uninstalled, what you need to do is go to this link, and this is from Oracle, right? Initially it was Sun Microsystem, and now it is been acquired by Oracle. Java is by Oracle now. So over here, what you need to do is you can see Java is available for Linux, for Mac, Solaris, Windows. All major operating systems are supported. So what you need to do is you need to download based on your Windows. My Windows is 64-bit. I'll be downloading this exe. If yours is 32-bit, you need to download this. For Mac, there is a DMG file that you need to download and install it. Installing Java is very simple. You just need to double click next and it gets installed. You're gonna get an exe file, right? It's a simple software. Just double click on it, next, it gets installed. That's it. During the installation, it is going to generate some folders inside C drive program files, and here you're gonna see a folder of Java. If you open this, you'll see one folder as JDK, one folder as JRE. JDK stands for Java Development Kit and JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Now, what are these two things? You need not to worry about it right now. It will be cleared in the core Java sessions itself, right? JDK and JRE, what is a runtime environment, why we need it, what is development kit, why we need it. Development kit is mainly required for the coding purpose, right? If we want to use Eclipse, we should have this JDK available. At times, if you only install JRE is to support any Java project. So if you want to just run the Java project, any application that is developed in Java, so for that you'll be needing this JRE. So what is JRE, what is JDK, what is JVM? All these things will be clear in your Java session itself. Right, Hargun, if you have Java 17, you can still try using that, but since it is already installed, but later on, if you face any challenges, then this one is the best and the stable version. Right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
You have multiple versions of Java in one system.
multiple version, I mean, you can install it, but that is not recommended. So it's not like some of the project is going to use latest Java, some of the project is going to use latest 1.8, right? So that is not recommended to keep multiple versions. Otherwise, you may gonna face some issues while running your project.
But in my system, I'm working on API automation along with this one, Selenium. So how do I keep for that? It is more 11 or 12 Java version is required for API.
For
So how do I
no API, like you are using rest assured,
Yeah, rest assured.
but rest assured 1.8 works absolutely fine. Like where it is mentioned that you need to use 11 or above.
There some Maven configuration was required. I just followed your course earlier, and there for 1.8 it didn't work. So I need to go for the higher version.
Okay, I mean you can share that thing with me. I can check, but because even I've created the complete course with 1.8 itself. So, anyways, I mean, if there is some compatibility issue that like we can look how we gonna fix it, but 1.8 is mostly supported everywhere.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Rahul sir, we can see that you are working on Windows OS. So are you going to take all the classes Windows OS?
See, classes will be on Windows only, but the same configuration is available for Mac operating system as well. Mac, Linux, both are same. So if you go through this particular course, I have designed lectures specific to Mac as well. So all the configuration like JDK, Eclipse, you'll see it over here. So this is configuring Java on Mac, how to configure your bash profiles. So you need to do all the global configuration. So you can follow these lectures for Mac, right? Because majorly audience is Windows, so we generally do everything on Windows. But yes, in case you face any issues on Mac, then you can let me know. I'll assist you in that. Okay. So once we have this Java installed, so if you open this JDK bin, you will find Java over here. So what we need to do, we need to do some like configuration for Java as well. We need to configure Java globally on our machine, because there are many projects which may need Java. If Java is not there, they're not gonna open up. Like Eclipse is there, like Maven is there, like Jenkins is there. These things are not going to work if Java is not there on your machine. So in order to configure Java globally, what we need to do, we need to set up some system environment variables. And how we're gonna do that? We just need to copy this root folder JDK, go to start, type edit. This is a shortcut, type edit. You'll see edit the system environment variables. Click on this, click on environment variable, and here you need not to do anything in the user variable. Here you see two things. One is user variable and one is the system variable. Don't do anything in user variable. I have seen a lot of students, they click on new and start doing things over here. If you do things over here, this is not going to work for the global configuration. The global configuration is done only in the system variable. So here you need to click on new and create a new system variable, name it as Java underscore home, and paste the path of this JDK folder. So once you're done with this, you're gonna see a variable that I've already created, which is holding this particular JDK path, the root path. Then you need to go down and you'll find this path variable over here. Edit this. You can see a lot of things already configured. You're not gonna edit or modify, delete these existing things, because there are other programs running on your machine which are supported by these global configuration. If you delete or modify them, then those programs may not gonna run, or your Windows might got corrupt as well, because there are system 32 and other settings as well over here. So what you need to do, simply click on new, type %java underscore home %. When you write this, you are getting the value that is stored over here. That is your JDK 1.8 path will be called over here. And Java is inside the bin folder of this path. So you just need to write bin over here. This is how you'll be doing it. Like I've already done it over here. So I'm not going to redo it. I'm going to delete it. Click on OK. Click on OK. Once you're done with this, that's it. Java is successfully configured. Now go to command prompt and type java hyphen version. Should show you the current version of Java on your machine. Like mine is 1.8. Once this is installed, the next thing we do is we need to download an editor where we can write the Java code. So we'll be downloading that IDE. So for that, we'll be downloading Eclipse. We'll say download Eclipse. And here, go to Eclipse, download. Okay, can you please write the path variable once again? Okay, so for path variable, edit environment variables. This is Java home. You need to add the JDK path over here. Go down, path variable, edit, and then you need to write this percentage Java underscore home percentage. This is to call the variable value, and then bin, and then hit OK. That's it. Right? So now over here, how to download Eclipse? Don't download it from here directly. Go to download packages. Because Eclipse IDE, there are so many IDEs which is supported for Java programming, for web development, for C, C++, right? Which one to use for Selenium? We need a very basic editor which supports basic core Java, that's it. So the recommended one is this Enterprise Java and Web Developer. This is the one that I am also using, right? So this is the most stable one. I would recommend you to use this. It may happen that if you have, if you are using JDK 1.8, then the latest one might not work. So you need to go with this 2021-06. Click on this. And here you need to download this one. For Windows, it is this version. For Mac, for Linux, for all three operating system, it is available. So download it. Once you download it, you get a zip file. Just unzip the same. You're gonna get a folder, something like this. I've already downloaded this. This is Eclipse 2021-06. If you open this, you get a folder of Eclipse. Open this. Nothing installable in Eclipse. This is the application. Just double click on it and it is going to launch your Eclipse. So this is your Eclipse ID. The very first thing, it is going to ask you for a workspace. Workspace is basically a location where you'll be maintaining your project code. So I'll generally give the workspace name as the batch name. So I'm going to name this batch as batch Jan 2022. Right, and click on launch. So this is your Eclipse, the very first interface, a welcome screen. I'm going to remove this, and this is your project explorer where you'll be maintaining your project hierarchy. Here you'll be writing some code, and here you're going to see the output of that code. Right?
Rahul, I'm using 2021-12 version, so it is okay for Selenium.
That's fine. That's fine. Any latest version you can use. Okay, there's a question from Seema. If we learn core Java in this Selenium 4.0, then after finishing core Java, will we learn Selenium in 5.0 version? No, Selenium 4.0 is the current version of Selenium. There is no version called as 5.0. Right? So Java is a separate thing. Selenium 4 is a separate thing. Right? We'll be discussing about what is Selenium, like what all components are there in Selenium. We have not yet discussed about it. So in some time, let me show you this example, what exactly API is. Then I'll be moving to those topics, right? So the very first thing, let's say I'm working as Jason again as a developer, and I want to develop Selenium. So how Jason Huggins have developed Selenium, let's see the same process. So first we'll be creating a project. So you can see create a project. Click on this. And this is going to be a simple Java project. Select Java project, next. Give this project any name. So we are designing Selenium. I'm going to name it as Selenium project. Click on finish. No need. Click on open. Oh, okay. Give me a moment. I don't have Java 16 on my machine, and I've created with Java 16. Let me create a new project. So I'll name it as Selenium project. Make sure whatever version of Java you have, you need to select that particular version from here. Click on finish. Okay, so this is my Java project, a simple Java project, and you can see two things over here. One is the SRC folder, one is the JRE system library. These are your internal Java classes. This library contains your internal Java classes. You need not to do anything with this. This is your SRC folder where you'll be creating your own classes, where you'll be writing the code. So before we do anything, what I'm going to do is I'll just right click over here, say new, and click on class. So I'm going to create a new class. It is giving me a template asking me to provide some name, and I'm going to name it as Selenium. Selenium with capital S. Why capital S? Because class name always starts with a capital letter. There is something called as Camel Casing that will be falling in our project. So it's not like if I say small s, it is not going to work. It is still going to work. It is not throwing any error. I can still create a class with a small name as well. But this is a recommended standard. Everyone in the industry is following the same and will be following the same as well. And this is something public static void main. Check this and click on finish, and you're gonna see something like this code over here. Let me increase the font size. Okay, so now you can see a lot of things over here. People who have already done Selenium must be familiar with all these things. But for the new people, what is public, what is class, what is static, you can see something in reddish color, something in black color. All these reddish colors are some predefined Java keywords. We need not to worry about these things right now. Right, there is a dedicated lecture on what public, private, protected, these are called as access modifiers or access specifiers. We have something called as static, non-static. We have something called as a void or a return type to a function, right? So these are the things we need not to worry about it right now. And this whole thing is basically a method. This whole thing is basically a class. A class contains a number of methods, but this is a by default method of any class. Anything we need to execute in Java must be present inside this method body. This is a body of this method. This is a body of this class, right? This is a body of this method. So these are comments. I can remove them. Anything we need to execute. Like if I talk about like C, basic C. Guys, please don't write on the screen. I know you have this annotate feature, but don't use it. Okay, so if I talk about a basic programming language C, how to print in C? Anyone know how to print in C?
C out.
C.
Then we give the statement C out.
Are you sure? C out is for C?
Yeah, C out and C. Oh no, that is for C.
Printf.
Printf, exactly.
Yeah, printf.
Yeah, C out is for C++. Right. How do we do it in Java? System out println, right? The very first program is hello world, right?
Yeah.
So this is the run button. Just click on it and you're gonna see hello world as printed. But we are not here to print hello world. We are developing Selenium. For that, we'll be creating couple of functions, methods over here. So one of the function I'll be creating as open, and this function is responsible for launching a browser, let's say. So I'm going to write some code over here which is going to launch a browser. But right now, many of us have not studied any programming, so I'm not going to create that particular function over here. I'm simply going to write print something. Let's say launching browser. So it means whenever you call this open method, you're just going to see it is printing launching browser, right? Same way, I'm going to create a function, a method called as navigate, and it is going to do what task? It is going to navigate to the website. After navigating, I want to get the title of the page. The method is get title. Now you can see when I'm writing the method name, I'm writing it in small letters. I can also write it in capital letter. That will not gonna throw me any error. But this is what the recommended approach, the tradition that every company is following, that the method name should always be in small letters, right? What I talked about is camel casing. Now what is camel casing? If there is a word that is something called as the dark night, now I've written it all together, it is not very readable, right? If it is a class name, then I'll be starting it with a capital letter. So I'm gonna make it like this: the, and any joining word should be in caps. The dark night. So this is how the class name is written. Camel casing, right? So you can see it is in a form of a camel. Same way, if it is a method name, we'll start it with a small letter. Any joining thing should be in caps. So next time when you are going to read someone's Java project, you should be able to understand, okay, this is a class name and this is a method name. Same way, if you talk about system out println, you can see println is a method. So print and ln, these two are different word. So you'll see it like this, print ln, and system you're gonna see it like this. I guess this is a same word. So print ln, they have written it in a same way. But in case if you talk about any other things as well in Java, you'll find the same camel casing followed everywhere. The class name, system is a class, it starts from a capital letter. Print is a method, it starts from a small letter, right? Same way, anything, if you're joining get title, this get title is actually a method from the Selenium library. So you're gonna find starting from small letter, and then any word joining must be in a capital letter. So get title, we're gonna write this method, we're gonna create this method so that it can get the title from the website, web page. After this, I'm going to create a method called as click. So this is going to clicking on an element. Then type. So this is going to type in an element, right? So that is how the complete project is created, right? They have created not just one class. There are list of classes that they have implemented, right? This is a very small example just to make you understand how you'll be working on Selenium, right? So now once we are done with this, let's say I've completed the Selenium project, and what I want to do is I want to check whether open is working fine, whether navigate is working fine, all these methods are working fine. So what I'll be doing, I'll be creating an object of this class, and I'll be calling the methods from this class, right? So how we're gonna do that? We're gonna go inside the main method, and the way that we have written in the notepad over here, same thing I'm going to copy and paste it over here. And you can see there are no errors, right? Even if I remove this, this is the very first thing. We need to create an object of a class. In order to call any method from a class, we need to create an object of a class. So when I'm saying we need to create an object of a class, what is an object inside this statement?
Yes.
S.
Yes.
Okay.
New.
New is new. Is new an object?
Keyword.
It's a keyword. Okay, great. How about others? What is an object?
New Selenium.
New Selenium?
S is the object.
S is the object.
S is the reference of the
Okay.
Object is nothing but a memory.
Uh-huh.
That's a new Selenium is up.
So
Reference to the S variable.
So as soon as we say new, we create an object. I have read here.
okay. So okay, that's great. That's great. I can still see many people are saying S is an object. Let's consider S is an object, right? So if this is an object, right? If I remove this, so is this statement correct? I mean, there are no errors, right? When I say Selenium S, will the object be created?
No, I guess this
No.
is allocating the memory to S.
This is not creating
Is
it.
created, but the object is not.
Object is not created. Okay. So what if I remove this? Will the object be
There
created?
is no reference.
Object
Object is created, but there is no reference to it.
Variable.
There is no reference. Okay. I'll again come back to this question. Right. So if I want to call method from the class, I simply need to say s dot, right? So s dot, you can see I'm getting a method click. I want to launch a browser. So which is the very first method I'll be calling? I'll be calling, let's say, open. If I save this and run this, you're gonna see launching browser happened, right? Now after this, I want to navigate to a website. This is a dummy Selenium. This is not an actual Selenium, right? So we are just looking at this because we want to understand how actual Selenium works. So we have just created a dummy Selenium. So if I run this, you're gonna see navigate to the website happened. After this, I want to get the title of the page. So one by one, we'll be calling all these methods. Click s.type, s.type. So I've called all the methods. If I run this, you're gonna see it has launched the browser, navigated to the website, it got the title from the web page, clicked on an element and type in an element. This is how we'll be practically working when we'll be using actual Selenium. We need not to worry about what code is written over here, what code the developer has written. We just need to call the methods like this way. These methods are already built, and there could be 100, 500 lines of code written inside the click method, inside the type method. We need not to worry about that code because we are not developing Selenium. That is already developed. So we simply need to call the methods one by one and automate the entire website. Now, when I'm running this code, you can see launching browser, but which browser? We have not mentioned this thing. Whether the Chrome browser is launched, whether the Firefox is launched, which browser is launching. So what they did, they've kept this information inside a constructor. Now what is a constructor? Constructor is something like a method. So I've created a method with the same name as of the class name. And I've written a code over here that Chrome browser launching, something like this. Now what is a constructor?
Constructor auto gets called whenever we create an object.
Whenever we create an object, it is automatically called. It has the same name as of the class name, right?
Yeah.
So it means if I want to call this, let's say I'm saying opening browser, but before opening the browser, I want to launch Chrome, right? I want to mention that launch Chrome, then open that particular browser. So shall I write it over here? s.selenium. I'm not getting it. Where I should call it?
The constructor. It's already been called.
It's already being called, right? We need not to call it explicitly, right? Even if you don't call these methods, and if you run this, as soon as the object of a class is created, the very first thing that is called is the constructor. See, automatically called launching Chrome browser. Now you can do other operation. So once the Chrome browser is launched, we need to navigate. So I can simply call navigate, s.navigate, and you're gonna see that Chrome browser launch and then navigate it to the website. So we need not to call any explicit method to launch a browser. That is already given inside the constructor, let's say. Now again, I'm coming back to the same question. What is an object? So some people were saying that this S is an object. If I remove the remaining part, if this is an object, if I run this, tell me whether the constructor will be called or not.
No, it will not be called.
If this is an object, as soon as an object is created, constructor is called. If this is object, then the constructor will be called. So let's run this and see nothing happened. Right? Now what I'll do, I'll remove this and I'll remove this. Now tell me, if I run this, some people say new Selenium is constructor. If this is constructor, then if I run this, then it should launch a browser. Tell me whether it is going to launch a browser or not.
It should launch.
It should launch.
It should launch.
Let's run this. See, browser launch. So if this is constructor, then what is the need? I mean, if this is launching browser, then what is the need for that S? Why we need that S?
Because we need to call out the, we can call all the methods.
All the other methods that are yeah.
So we need to call open, get title. If we don't have that S, we cannot call the navigate method, right? We cannot call get title. Can we still call get title without that S?
No, we cannot. There is no way.
There is no way. Let's see. S. See, I am able to call it. Let's run it. You can see navigate to the website happened. There is no S reference over here. I can still call a method.
This reference, this object will get destroyed if it will be get called only once.
Exactly.
It will not in reference variable.
Exactly. So now if I want to call the other method click, I again need to say new selenium.click. New selenium.click. If I want to call type, then again need to say new selenium.type. And see what happens if I run this. If I run this, you're gonna see browser is launching 3 times. Because 3 times constructor is called. So it means if we have 500 methods to call, are we going to launch 500 browsers? So that is the reason why we need that reference. So wherever the object is created in a memory, we are going to store that in a particular variable. So that is a simple variable. You can name it as Selenium with small s, right? Not with capital S. You can give it any name. You can name it as, let's say, driver. You can name it as obj. Any name you can give over here. There is just a variable name, right? But every variable must have some type. Type, you understand? Let's say if I'm storing a value 100 in a variable, value equal to this. What will be the type of this variable?
Integer.
Int, correct. Can I store my name inside int? Something like this?
No.
It will not accept, right? It should be string, correct. Right? So if I talk about string in Java, what exactly string is?
Class. It is a class.
String is a class, right? String is a data type as well as it is a class. So if this is a class, then what is this value?
It's data type.
Value is a
Reference variable to this class. So if you do value dot, you should be able to see all the methods of this string class. You can see all these methods and string written over here. String is an internal Java class. If you mouse over onto string, it will show you string class. This is a class in Java. Same way, when we cannot store numeric value in string, we cannot store these values in int. Now we are going to store this value in this variable. What will be its type? Will it be int?
It's class name.
It should be its class name only. So the initial thing over here is called as a type, which you also call it as a data type, but this is your type. Then you have your variable, which is also called as a reference variable. This is an assignment operator. This is a keyword. And this is where your constructor is called. Right? So these are very basic stuff, but once we start in Java with classes and objects, these things will be very much clear in a very detailed manner. Right? For the timing, just to understand this, now I'm going to call different methods. Let's say navigate, I'm going to call click, I'm going to call get title, I'm going to call type. So see, I have called different methods from this class. Now if I run this, you're gonna see that Chrome browser is going to launch only once. And all the methods will be referred from the same object reference. Right? So So this is a very basic of classes, objects, how to call a method. Now let's say I've designed everything. I want to launch this Selenium project in the market. I want that everyone should take benefit of it, right? And in order to launch it, I don't want to keep any license value for it. I want to launch it as an open source project. Open source means free of cost. Not only free of cost, open source means anyone can contribute into the development of this project as well. So let's say if some developer comes from XYZ organization and he's very much interested in my project, he wants to contribute and want to create different functionality of, let's say, handling drop down values, handling checkbox values, handling images, and number of other things, then he is most welcome and he can write a code for it and can contribute into the development part as well. But as a tester, if someone wants to use this project for their automation purpose, they need not to look into the code. They have all this functionality available. They can easily call these functionality and automate their website. So what I did, how I launched it in the market, I just right clicked on this project, gone to export, gone to Java, click on a jar file, clicked on next, and name this jar file as, let's say, Selenium server 1.0.jar, the very first version of my project. I'll copy this, go to desktop, save, finish. And you can see this is Selenium. This is your Selenium. Practically, this is your Selenium. This is how Selenium will gonna look like once you download Selenium. So if I double click on it, will it gonna install some GUI? It is not going to install any GUI, right? This jar file consists of information, what all classes are there, what all functionalities are there inside this particular Java project. This is your Java archive. If a developer has not shared their coding part, you'll not be able to see the code, but you'll still be able to access the functionality, right? So, but since it's an open source project, anyone can contribute into the development part as well. So they have shared the complete project code as well for Selenium. So in case you want to look at the Selenium project code, you can do that thing as well. But let's assume this is the jar file that they have given us, and this jar file they have uploaded to their website. Why? Because website can be accessed from any part of the world. So I'll go to their website. Which is the official website of Selenium? Can anyone tell me?
SeleniumHQ.org.
SeleniumHQ.org. Still people are following the old website, which is the new website. Come on, guys.
Selenium.org.
Selenium dot?
Dev.org.
No.
Selenium.org.
No. Guys, come on. Which is the latest website of Selenium? Selenium.dev. Correct. So this is the website, selenium.dev. See, the very first thing, Selenium automates browsers. That's it. Only for web-based testing. If you go to download, from here you can download Selenium and you can see the latest stable version of Selenium is 4.1.1. If you click on which is Selenium 4, we call it as Selenium 4. If you click on this, you should be able to see it is downloaded in a form of a jar file, one single jar file, right? This is just a 10 MB jar file. This is what your Selenium is. If you take a look over here, this is just okay, the jar file size is increased now because a lot of code being added. So this is now 24.6 MB jar file, but a very small jar file, right? It's not like a huge automation tool like QTP is like more than 1 GB, like QTP, RFT. They're huge in size, but Selenium is just in MBs, 24 MB jar file, right? So we'll come back to this jar file, but let's see, this is what we have designed. So this is our jar file. Now let's assume I'm going to close this project. Let me close this project. So we have worked as JSON onions. Now we are going to work as a tester. As an automation tester, what I'll be doing, I'll be using Selenium and I'll be automating my website. For that, I again need a Java project as well. So I'll be using the same Eclipse. I'll go to new, I'll click on Java project, And here I'm gonna name my project as Selenium testing, right? I'm going to use Selenium for testing now. Click on finish. Expand this. I'll be creating a new class and name it as, let's say, test browser. I want to test something on browser with a main method. So I know that there is a class called as Selenium. If I want to launch my browser, I need to create an object of that class. How I'll be doing it? I'll simply say Selenium s, or maybe Selenium equal to new Selenium. I'll be writing something like this, right? But I'm getting some errors over here. Why am I getting error over here? Why it is not able to understand what is Selenium?
You have not created a class.
Right?
Because that's another project and this is an.
Yeah. So how this project knows what is Selenium? Selenium is a third party project, right? We need to add that project over here. So how are we gonna do it? The jar file that we have downloaded, will be right clicking over here, go to build path, add external archives, and see this is the Selenium server 1.0 jar. Click on open and you see a jar file added over here. And see, errors are gone. Right? Now, if you expand this, should be able to see your Selenium class, should be able to see all these methods over here. Now, if I run this, the very first thing it is going to do is launch a browser. So I'm able to launch a browser.
Call as integration.
Sorry?
Is this something we call as integration?
Yeah, this is how we have integrated the Selenium jar in our Java project. Right? So launching a browser happened. And where is the launching code written? Inside the constructor. Right? And it was, let's say it was 500 lines of code. But why should I worry? I'm not going to develop Selenium. I'm just using Selenium for automation. So what I'll be doing now, I'll be calling the methods. I'll say selenium.navigate. I'll say selenium.click. I'll say selenium.type. One by one, I'll be calling the methods from that jar file. If I run this, you're going to see all the actions will be performed. Now, this is dummy Selenium. I don't want to use dummy Selenium. So what I'll do, I'll just remove this and I'll remove this jar file as well. Right click, build path, remove. And now I want to add the actual jar file. The actual jar file, which is inside this download, this is the actual jar file. See, the same process that we have followed for the dummy jar file, same process we have followed over here. So this particular jar file, if I expand it now, you will see there are so many things over here. So many packages. Packages are something like folders. And if you expand these folders, you're going to see so many classes. Inside each class, you're going to see so many functions, so many methods. Right? It's a huge library. It's a huge collection of classes. Now, what I want to do, I want to launch a browser. So one of the class that is there inside this library, I want to launch a Chrome browser. A class name is Chrome driver. You need to create an object of this class. You simply need to say Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's it. That is how you'll be working on Selenium. The dummy project, there was a class called as Selenium. This is the actual project. The class name is Chrome driver. So I just said Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Now, as soon as I click run button, will it gonna work or not? Tell me, will it gonna work?
No, it's not gonna work.
No.
So why it is not gonna work?
Because we need to get some configuration of browser in constructor.
Yeah, we need to set up Chrome driver, right? Okay, so that is something additional which we'll be studying about it. But for the time being, what I'm going to do is I am going to add.
Sir, just one quick question. I got
Yeah.
a doubt there only. So, in project you added build path, right? The build path. You went to build path and you added a external library.
Yeah.
But what we do sometimes, like let's suppose we make a Java project, and when we work on like say suppose collection. So what we do, we used to like import. वो भी error देता है. So we import libraries. So this we cannot import. We have to run only, right? I mean, we have to add the jar.
Yeah, import is the package. That is the different stuff.
That
Import.
built Java package, but
Yeah.
this is outside Java, which we are taking into our project. And
Yes.
we are using.
This is a third party project. Now this project is acting as an API to your Selenium testing project, right? This is what an API. This jar file that you see over here, this is what an API. The initial stuff that we were discussing, that what is Selenium? Selenium is a collection of library. So this is what your library. One single jar, or you can see these are your libraries. These are your packages. So this is your project. This is your Java project, and this is what is called as an API, right? So you are not developing it. This is already developed. You are just consuming it. And now what I was trying to show you over here, when I create, sorry guys.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I was talking about like when we've added this thing, this code is directly not going to work. The only thing that we need is something called as this Chrome driver executable. Now where it came from, there's a complete history behind this Chrome driver, which we'll be discussing in our tomorrow session. But for the timing, what I'm going to do, I'll just right click and paste it over here. That's it. Right? No need to add any other thing. I know there are other configurations as well that you might be knowing about system.set property and other things. Don't worry about those things right now. Simply click on this run button and see what happens. You can see Chrome browser launched. Just by creating an object of Chrome driver class, it launches a browser. So where the code is written? Where the code is written to launch the browser, we have not called any method. It's written inside the constructor. Right? Even if we don't write this, if I save it and run it again, it is going to launch the browser. Right? So it could be 500 lines of code, but we are not worried about it, right? There could be hundreds of classes in Selenium. We are not worried about what code they have written. As a tester, we just need to call these classes, these methods, and automate the website. Now, after, let's say I created the object, I want to navigate to a website. So you simply need to say driver dot, and you should be able to see the list of methods inside these classes. One of the method is get. So when I say driver dot get, you can see it is asking me for URL. In what format? String. String means double quotes. So here I'll be giving, let's say, http gmail.com. That's it. And now if I run this, you're gonna see again launched, and now navigated to gmail.com. Now one of the test case is to get the title of this page. Title is Gmail. So the method that we have seen is driver.getTitle. So getTitle is going to get the title, but it is not going to print the title, because printing task is not of Selenium. For printing, what we need to use is something called as system out println, right? How we print in Java? System out println. So put it in system out println, and after that you want to close the browser. So the method is driver.close. That's it. And let's run this and let's see. See again, navigating, then close, and we encounter some error. Okay, let me see.
Get title, we have not mentioned the URL of the title.
No, get title is, it is only going to get the title. The issue is something else. If I use driver.quit, maybe there are so many sessions of Chrome driver active over here. I may need to kill those sessions. That is the reason it is throwing exception. So if I go over here, or instead of doing this, what I'll do, there's another method called as quit. If I call this, this is going to kill the entire instance. So quit is important to call because at times it happens when you are launching Chrome browser, you're not killing the instance. It remains inside your taskbar itself. See, now we don't have any exception, and it has printed Gmail. So this is how it is very simple to work on Selenium, right? Although there are so many other things as well, but to get started, this is what you should be doing. In order to get started with Selenium, you just need a JDK 1.8 or any higher version, and then you need Eclipse IDE, and then you need one single jar file. That's it. So this is what you need for the time being. These are the configurations that you need to do in your machine. There is no heavy configuration, right? You are not going to purchase any license or going to install any heavy tool. So anyone with a basic system requirement, like at least 4 GB RAM should be there, and at least, I mean, if you want a good performance, it should be i5 or i7, right, processor, and very basic system requirement it requires, right? The only thing, if your system is supporting Java, it should support Selenium, right? So that is what the configuration of Selenium is. Now tell me, how many components are there in Selenium? What all components are there in Selenium?
WebDriver,
ID, Selenium ID,
Mm-hmm.
RC,
RC,
WebDriver,
WebDriver,
WebDriver Manager.
WebDriver Manager is not a component. So that is something like it's difficult to explain right now because many new people might not know it, but that is something which is required to get your browser executables automatically downloaded. Like what we did, we added something like Chrome driver over here. If I use WebDriver Manager, there is no need to add this particular stuff, right, manually. So that thing we're gonna see, but we're gonna see that thing in our tomorrow session, right? So okay, these are the components, right? And we know the current version of Selenium is Selenium 4 as in 4.1, 4.1.1, I guess. This is the latest version, right? And Selenium 4 was officially launched on 13th October 2021. So what all components Selenium 4 contains? You mentioned there are 4 components: ID, RC, WebDriver, Grid. So are these components there with Selenium 4, or it was there with Selenium 3, or it was there with Selenium 2.0, which went up till 2.53.1. This went up till 3.141.59. And initially when it was started in 2004 with a very first version, that is Selenium 1.0. This was started in 2006 and officially launched in July 2011. And Selenium 3, I guess it is the same date was same, and the year was 2000, and I guess let me check what the year was. So this is what you can check it from here. One of the website, that is MVN repository, which is Maven repository. We'll be looking at this website a lot. If you go over here, check Selenium, click on Selenium Java, you should be able to see all the versions and the date when they launched. So 4.0 launched on October. It was launched on 13th October basically. And then 3 version was launched somewhere in 13th October 2016. So this was launched in 2016, right? This
Java 4.1 is compatible with Java 1.8 and Eclipse version which we are using, can you mention that by end of class on top, like so that once I download
Sure. See, I'm using Java 1.8 and I'm using Selenium 4.
and Eclipse
Eclipse version that I've used is 202106. Right?
Yeah, hi Rahul.
Yeah.
Actually, I joined the session late, but I want to know what's the difference between the UFT developer and the Selenium.
See, UFT is a paid tool. UFT is a paid tool. It's what like a QTP. After QTP, it was named as UFT. But Selenium is an open source library. It's not a tool. So it's just a programming library. Right. Then again, in order to understand what Selenium is, you need to go through this particular lecture from the beginning. Right, because we have done so many things in order to make understand what exactly Selenium is. It's not a tool, it's not a GUI, so it's just a programming project. It's a framework, a collection of libraries. Okay, and now we are discussing what different components are there in Selenium. So ID is there, RC is there, WebDriver is there, Grid is there. So which version was there in Selenium 1.0 when 1.0 was started? So what all components were there? ID were there. ID was there. Yes. RC was there. And that's it. Grid was there. Correct. So ID, RC and Grid 1. How about 2.0?
The WebDriver was introduced and all the rest three.
All the rest three were there. ID was there, RC was there, WebDriver was there, and Grid 2 was there. This RC got deprecated in 2.44 version of this project. And then in Selenium 3, RC was completely gone. We have WebDriver and Grid 3. And what do we have in Selenium 4?
I guess we just have WebDriver and Grid.
We have ID as well, we have WebDriver as well, and we have Grid as well, Grid 4. So ID, a new form of ID is launched. Initially, ID was supported only for Firefox. Now we have ID created for Chrome as well as a plugin, right? Then we have WebDriver and we have a new implementation of Grid in Selenium 4. And there are a lot of other changes which is specific to W3C compliance. This project is fully compliance of W3C. Now, what is that? We need to understand the architecture of Selenium for that. So we may gonna cover that particular topic in detail in our tomorrow's session, right? So this is the difference. These are the different components and the different versions. So when Selenium 1 was started, this project was very small. This project was very small with very limited functionality, and a lot of challenges were there in this project as well, because this project, how the architecture used to work is with the help of something called as JavaScript injection. So whenever you execute your code, there's a JavaScript that gets injected on your browser in order to perform action on your web page. That is how the architecture was built. And there were many browsers which does not allows JavaScript injection, due to which we were not able to automate our task on those browsers. Like one of the major browser was IE. So IE support was there, but it was not fully supported. There were many things we were not able to run due to the IE security issues. It blocks the JavaScript injection. But if you talk about the year 2004, the majorly used browser was IE only. Right? It worked very well in Firefox, but at that point of time, majorly people were using IE. So there, the lot of challenges came when Selenium was initially launched in the market, and not just this JavaScript injection, the library was very small. There was just collection of 100-200 methods were there. That's it. Only one major class was there, which is named as default Selenium, which consists of 100-200 methods which you can call and automate website. That's it. So all these challenges, I mean, many things we were not able to automate using just Selenium RC. These challenges were recognized by one person whose name is Simon Stewart. He used to work as a lead developer with Google. So he used to work as a lead developer with Google, where he has read this Selenium project and has overcome all the challenges that were faced in Selenium project and created another project parallel to Selenium, which we know with the name as WebDriver. So WebDriver was initially introduced in Google itself, and there were many Google developers who have contributed into the development of this WebDriver project. So what they did, the initial architecture was a big challenge, JavaScript injection. So they have removed this JavaScript injection from the architecture. And the library was very small, only one class, default Selenium class. Now what he did in WebDriver, for every browser he has created different classes. If you want to work on Chrome, there is a class called as Chrome driver. If you want to work on Firefox, there is a class called as Firefox driver. If you want to work on Internet Explorer, there is a class called as Internet Explorer driver. There is a class called as Safari driver. Not only this, to support major functionality, he has actually created a huge collection of classes. If you want to see how many classes are there inside the Selenium project, you just need to visit this official website of Selenium, that is selenium.dev. So if you go to selenium.dev and here you go to download, you scroll down over here and you should be able to see WebDriver language binding, see the Java one, click on the API docs, click on frames. You should be able to see a huge list. These are all the classes. See a huge collection of classes. And this is your WebDriver, which is an interface. Now, what is an interface? You first need to go through the Java part, then it will be clear to you. If you go down, you'll see a method summary. See, I called a method close. I called a method get. It loads a new web page in a current browser window. See, these are the methods that I've called get title. This is what your Selenium is. It's not a tool. You will be calling functions and methods from here only. But the best part is you are not developing these methods. These are already developed. You just need to know that much Java that you should be able to understand what an interface is, what a class is, how to call a method from a class, right? What is inheritance? What is polymorphism? So these are the things that you must have studied theoretically, but in Selenium, you'll be seeing all these things practically. And that will actually help in building up your base of programming. Normally what happens, like we have been learning programming from long time, from the graduation time. But it happens that after every few months of learning programming, we forget everything. Right? If a person has studied C, C++ 10 years back, if I ask any simple program as well to write for C, then he might not be able to write it. Why? Because we have studied it theoretically. We have not practically implemented it because we were never got into the development part. So all the programming skills that we have studied is gone. And the other thing, why we have ended up into testing, majorly just because that we are little afraid of programming. Right? But once you are entering into the automation world, specifically the Selenium world, once you write the same code that you have theoretically studied, and you're gonna see after writing 4 or 5 lines of code, a browser is launching and action is happening, it will build up your interest in the programming part. And this programming is very easy. You're gonna see same concept, same if, else, loops. Once you start using it with Selenium, it will help you in building up your programming skills accordingly. So once you automate the complete website on your own, you'll be very much confident in the programming part as well. Right? Because whatever programming that you have studied in your core Java, same thing you are practically applying in Selenium, and you are seeing that the browser is launching and the actions are happening. So this is what will actually gonna make you feel very interesting on the programming part and will help you in building up your base. And once the base is built up, you'll never gonna forget the programming part. Right? That is why it says, I mean, Selenium is a base for automation. Right? Every opening you'll find Selenium as a base. Because a very basic programming that is required, because the profiles these days are not just of manual testers, these are converted into SDET, software development engineering test. So every tester as well must be familiar with some programming language. If you are just a manual tester, then the scope is very limited, right, based on the competition these days. And Selenium is your start in automation, because Selenium automates only the UI part. There are other areas as well. If we talk about these days, there are many websites which runs with the help of APIs only. So at times frameworks are being designed which have both UI and the API part integrated in the same project. So if you're using Selenium for UI, you'll not be using a separate tool for API in case you want to implement everything in the same project. So what you will be doing, along with this UI part, along with this UI part, the web-based part, in case you want to integrate the API part as well, then you will be using REST assured. And what REST assured is, it's just a jar file. So same way that we have added a jar file over here for Selenium, I can add another jar file of REST assured. And while automating UI part, I can integrate the API part as well. And same thing if I add one more jar file which is called as APM, I can automate the mobile part as well. And I can have this integration in the same project, because it may happen that my company have a web application, they also have a mobile application. Right? These days, if we talk about Amazon, Flipkart, every major companies, they have their web application, they have their mobile applications as well. So if web testing is important, mobile testing is also important, because most of the time we are purchasing things from our mobile applications. Right? We have wallets available, we have like Amazon, we purchase things from there, we enter credit card information. Right? Most of the time we are traveling, we don't carry a laptop everywhere. So if web testing is important, mobile testing is also important. And the components in these applications are interacting with each other with the help of APIs. So you can see all these things, UI plus mobile plus API. These things are very, very important. Right? And same way, database, you want to integrate with your project, there's another jar file. You can perform a JDBC connectivity with the help of MySQL jar file, SQL jar file, MongoDB, right? All these things, they are available in a form of a jar file. They have their dependencies available in a form of a jar file. API is available in a form of a jar file.
Now, sir, what basically these jar files are?
These jar files are the Java project. Like what Selenium is. Selenium is a jar file. Right? So even REST assured is a jar file. REST assured is not a tool. Selenium is not a tool. Even if we talk about, see, when I am automating this stuff, I'm running a code. Let's say I run one, I just write one more line. Don't worry about that line. So what I'll do, I'll gonna write driver dot find element by dot id. Don't worry about this code. Identifier id dot send keys. And I'm gonna write my email ID. So what it is going to do, it is going to launch Gmail and it is going to enter the email ID in that input box. See, it typed the email ID. Now see, this information is my test data. So test data is something which I don't want to hard code over here, because test data I may have written like 10-50 permutation combination, the correct email ID, incorrect email ID, right? Adding some string values over here, alphanumeric values over here, and number of validation I'll be doing with this username field. So I'll not be hard coding my test data over here. Where I'll be maintaining my test data? Where generally we maintain the test data? CSV file, database, Excel file, right? So normally the test data is majorly maintained in Excel or CSV because they are in a form of columns and rows, and we are able to edit it like manually as well. Database, we are not going to every time go and like edit the data in the database. So at times you can read it from database as well, but most of the time Excel, CSV are in use. Now Selenium task is not to read and write from Excel, right? Selenium does not have any functionality to automate the Excel files. Selenium is only for web based application, only to automate your website, not to automate your test data. But this is your project requirement. You want to read data from Excel file. So what you will be doing, you will be integrating another project which is called as Apache Poi. So what is this? This is another Java project which is just a jar file. So what you will be doing, you may be going to the Apache website, or this is a common website, Maven repository. If you search for POI over here, you get this POI, go over here, 5.2, download this jar file. And see, you got a jar file. This is being downloaded. And once you got this jar file, how you gonna integrate it with your project? So let it completely download it. So what I'll do, I'll go to my project, I'll right click over here, go to build path, add external archive. Like I've added Selenium, now I'll be adding this POI. See? And now I can call the classes which are there inside this POI API, and I can do reading, writing of Excel as well. So we are not going to create those classes. Those classes are also created by a third party company called as Apache. They've already given you classes method, just call them and read and write from Excel. Same way, if you talk about database, your MySQL. This is another jar file. So I'll be downloading this jar file. See, this is a jar file. Now you want to read and read from, you want to fire some SQL queries and you want to get a result in your Java code, and then you want to validate it from the website. You just need to add this jar file. Go to build path, add external archives, and add this. Same way, if I talk about REST assured, APM, all these are jar files. So you can see, because Selenium has no boundaries, so I can integrate anything that is feasible in Java with my Selenium project. This is the best thing about Selenium. You can automate web, you can automate desktop as well. There is something which is called as Win App Driver, which is another jar file. If you integrate this, you can open up a notepad and automate a notepad as well, the desktop application, right? So all these things can be handled in one single project. And if you are working on QTP, you are just limited to that tool. So this is what best about Selenium. So when you are getting started, you are starting with Selenium. Once you are done with Selenium, your base is built up. You know what is a jar file, what is an API, how to consume it, how to call the method. Your base is built up. Then anything that is feasible in Java, you just need to download the project. You need to study that project and you can integrate that project. Right? Although we have a dedicated training on REST assured as well, which you can join. That batch is already going on at 6 p.m. India time. So you can join that batch as well. Right? It's not like you need to pay something separate for that batch. It is all the batches, live batches are included in this membership. So, but yes, first I would recommend start with Selenium, build up. Selenium will help you in building up your base for the programming and for the initial automation part. But Selenium is not the end of the market. Selenium is just your beginning. Down the line, 2-3 years in automation, you'll be practically working on all these things. Right? So companies demand Selenium plus API plus APM, the mobile part. You should be comfortable with automation of these things, Selenium as well as API as well as mobile, because all these are related. If you know Selenium, you should be able to work on other things as well easily.
So Rahul, after learning Selenium, if you want to join API classes, say after 6 months or down to a year, then we can join them.
Absolutely. And even you can refer the complete video library and even can refer the recordings of the previous batches as well. So all these things are available, right? So I guess we are almost, I mean, it's like we have to end it 10 minutes back. So the class is a little lengthy today, but there are so many topics that we need to cover. So we'll try to cover those things in our tomorrow's session. We're gonna see a little more configuration, and we're gonna see what all things, which is something called as Maven, Jenkins. So something with a practical example, we'll be looking at it in the tomorrow session as well. So tomorrow session as well, we are not going to touch any programming part. The programming, whatever that we have touched today, only till this much level we're gonna touch, right? Because the people who are new don't know Java, so they'll be moving to Java from the next weekend. So tomorrow we're just gonna see the configuration part, but tomorrow will be some little more detailed configuration, right, where we'll be configuring some build tools, a dependency management tool. So those things are also very important, right? But people who are moving to Java, once you're done with the Java sessions, these sessions will again be repeated, so don't worry about it. But yes, till that time I would want that every one of you should try configuring whatever that we have done and whatever that we are going to do tomorrow from these two sessions. Just try to replicate the same thing on your machine and see if you are at least able to launch a browser and navigate to a website and print the title. So this configuration is very, very important, because if the initial configuration is correct, then you should be able to follow the lectures easily, right? So that's all, guys, from my side. I hope you have not got bored. You have enjoyed the session.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi sir. How will I get recording of the session?
I'll be uploading the recording to the portal, and plus I'll be sending it in the WhatsApp group as well. Right. So.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I just had one question. When you didn't import the Chrome driver.exe included in the project, it didn't show any error, right? Is that expected?
No, I mean it didn't show any error because I have taken some shortcut to add these packages, because people who are new might not be familiar with what packages are. So these are automatically added with some shortcuts. So initially it should throw this error over here. So you need to import something called as this package. Now what this package is, people who have already completed Java must be familiar with this package, but for the new one we'll be covering this in the Java sessions.
Okay,
Hello.
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Rahul, I have one question.
Yeah.
When I did the Java session, I was using JDK 17.0.1 and I was using the Eclipse version 4.21, and I did all the coding over there. But today you said the most stable version is 1.1.
Yeah, I said it's a stable version, but it's not like if everything is working fine on your machine with the 17 version as well, you can go ahead with the 17 version. Don't worry about it. But later on, it may happen that if some of the integration may not work, so you may gonna see that people recommend that downgrade the version, because the latest ones are little bit licensed as well in Java. So some of the things might not work.
Okay, so my next question is, if I uninstall 17 and install the 1.8, will the existing code that I have already written in Eclipse, will that still
No,
continue to work?
nothing. You need to worry about the code. The code will gonna remain as it is.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, but I would recommend, if everything is working fine, don't uninstall it right now. Just try to use it as it is. But later on, when you are very much comfortable with Selenium and other things, and then the integration may not work, it like just a 10-15 minutes task to downgrade Selenium, the Java version. So don't need to worry about it right now.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Will we need to download all Eclipse and Java thing, or it will be taught in the next session, like in the Java class, will be teaching us how to?
See, whatever practically that we have covered today, you need to download all these things as it is on your machine. You need to download Eclipse, you need to download Java, you need to download the Selenium jar, and then you need to practically start working on it.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, guys, any more questions?
One question from my end, like what is the exactly in this in your screen that what is the Chrome driver here? I was little confused initially.
Okay, so Chrome driver will be studying it in our tomorrow session. There's a little bit architecture behind it. If you this is something I'll be showing it in our tomorrow session. The browser, this Chrome driver is something provided by your browser vendor. So Selenium directly cannot interact with the browser. So this act as a medium for the communication. The request is sent from here, from your Java, which is a client, to this Chrome driver, and then Chrome driver sends the request to browser. So that is why it is required.
No, Rahul. I meant please go to the Eclipse once.
From
Yes.
yeah.
I meant is what is the Chrome driver new and Chrome driver here?
Oh, okay,
Like
okay. I thought you were talking about this Chrome driver exe.
no.
So Chrome driver, this is a class. This is a type over here. Your class, right? This driver is a reference, which is holding the object of your new Chrome driver.
Okay, that's why I want to ask. Okay, fine.
Okay, sure. Alright, guys. Could we automate music application? I mean, only the UI and the HTML, if it is available, you can automate that much part. But if music playing part cannot be automated. There's a like Ghana app available that you can launch from the APM. You can perform a little bit click and like other things, but how the music is playing, those are things which you cannot check it. It's like same thing for YouTube as well. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in, and thanks a lot for your patience. So we'll meet tomorrow, and same link is going to work for the tomorrow session as well. Thank you everyone for joining in.
Thank you.